I love you, Allah.
The times that we live in, it is inevitable that the situation sometimes overwhelms us. Sometimes we become sad, feelings of despair. We look at the realities of the pandemic, of the economic situation, of the politics, of Islamophobia. And it is very easy to fall into sadness, to fall into a sense of where's the hope in all of this? And it is at times like this that we have to remind ourselves of one of the pillars of our faith, one of the pillars of Iman, which is explicitly mentioned in the Quran. And the Arabic term is very important as well, even though unfortunately not many of us are aware of it. And that is the term Ar-Raja. The term Ar-Raja. The concept of Ar-Raja is a fundamental pillar of Iman. And it is linked in our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it means that we are optimistic and we think the best thoughts about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means that we have a positive yearning. That's what Raja means. You're expecting the best. You're hoping for the best. This concept of Raja, it is so important that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described it as a characteristic of Iman. يَرْجُونَ الْآخِرَةِ. They have the Raja of the Akhirah. يَرْجُونَ رَحْمَةَ رَبِّكَ. They have Raja of the Rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in fact, we should also learn from the seerah, one of the greatest setbacks for the Muslim community was the tragedy of Uhud. It was a tragedy that literally caused a shock amongst the Sahaba. It was a tragedy that did cause despair to set into the ranks of the Sahaba. And Allah Azza wa Jal reminded them, cheered them up, gave them comfort in Surah Al Imran. And one phrase He said that وَلَا تَهِنُوا, don't give up hope. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, don't feel sad. And then Allah Azza wa Jal describes, how can you be sad? وَتَرْجُونَ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَرْجُونَ. When you have Raja with Allah and they have no Raja with Allah. Literally, in a time of catastrophe, in a time of sadness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the believers, how can you feel the same as those others, the Quraysh? How can your philosophy be the same when you have Raja in Allah and they don't have Raja in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So what does it mean to have Raja? Ibn al-Qayyim defines Ar-Raja as thinking or believing that the vastness of Allah's mercy is going to have an impact on you. To have Iman in the vastness, in the si'ah of the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to believe that Allah's rahmah will be manifested in your life. That is what Raja means. And in fact, in one passage, he says that Raja is linked to Iman in Allah, because he asks a rhetorical question. No one, or he says, how can anybody who knows Allah's names and attributes not be optimistic? How can anybody who understands that Allah is Rahman and Allah is Rahim and Allah is Al-Barr and Allah is Kareem and Allah is Al-Muhsin? Ibn al-Qayyim says, how can anybody who knows these names not be optimistic at all good coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It is in the nature of the divine to be good and merciful. So when we believe in the names of the divine, when we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, automatically that should bring about a feeling of positive energy, a feeling of optimism. And that is why Raja is linked with Iman in Allah. If you know who Allah is, you will be optimistic. Simple as that. If you understand the names and attributes of Allah, you will always look and think positive of the future.